in the sky, but destinations for exploration and colonization. Countless ships roamed the galaxy, seeking new worlds to settle and resources to exploit. Among these vessels was the Odyssey, a research ship tasked with mapping uncharted regions of space. Its crew consisted of scientists, engineers, and explorers, all united by a shared sense of curiosity about the unknown. Captain Alan Carter stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, his eyes scanning the holographic displays that surrounded him. Was a tall man with sharp features and a calm demeanor, traits that inspired confidence among his crew. Beside him was Dr. Laura Bennett, the ship's lead scientist. She was younger than Alan, but equally respected, her quick mind and steady hands making her indispensable during missions like this one. The Odyssey had been traveling through an asteroid belt for 3 days, conducting routine scans of the debris field. It was monotonous work, but necessary. Every piece of rock or metal could hold clues about the formation of the universe or even signs of life. So far, though, the team hadn't found anything particularly exciting. It's rocks, dust, and the occasional trace of frozen water. That changed on the 4th day. It started with a faint signal picked up by the ship's long-range sensors. At first, it was dismissed as interference from the dense cluster of asteroids. But when the signal persisted, growing stronger with each sweep, the crew grew curious. Alan ordered the ship to adjust its course slightly, moving closer to the source. As they approached, the signal resolved into something more tangible, massive object, buried beneath layers of cosmic debris. "What do you think it is?" Laura asked, leaning over the console where the data streamed in. Her voice carried a mix of excitement and caution. "I don't know," Alan replied, narrowing his eyes at the readings. "But it's big. Bigger than any asteroid we've seen out here." The object was irregularly shaped, almost like a jagged mountain floating in space. Its surface was pockmarked with craters and cracks, evidence of eons spent drifting through the void. What caught everyone's attention, however, were the strange markings etched into its exterior. They weren't random scratches or scars left by collisions, they were deliberate patterns. Symbols carved deep into the material. "This isn't natural," Laura said, her tone firm. "Whatever this is, it's artificial." Alan nodded slowly, agreed. "Prep a shuttle. We're going in for a closer look." Within an hour, a small team assembled in the hangar bay. Alongside Alan and Laura were 2 additional crew members: Rachel Monroe, the ship's chief engineer, and Jake Harper, the head of security. Rachel was practical and methodical, always ready with a solution to technical problems. Jake, on the other hand, was cautious and skeptical, often questioning things others took for granted. Together, they made a balanced team. The shuttle detached from the Odyssey and began its descent toward the mysterious object. As they drew nearer, the sheer size of it became apparent. It dwarfed their tiny craft, stretching hundreds of meters across. Up close, the symbols covering its surface were even more intricate, forming swirling patterns that seemed to shift under the light of the shuttle's floodlights. "Looks like some kind of ship," Rachel observed, her gaze fixed on the view screen. "Or maybe a station. Hard to tell without getting inside." "Could be either," Laura agreed. "But those markings, they're not human, and they're not from any known alien civilization." Jake frowned. "You sure about that, maybe?" "It's just really old tech. Something we haven't seen before." "It's possible," Alan admitted, "but I doubt it. Look at the craftsmanship. This thing was built to last." As the shuttle settled onto a relatively flat section of the object's surface, the team prepared to disembark. Their suits were equipped with advanced life support systems and communication arrays, ensuring they could stay in contact with the Odyssey at all times. Armed with scanning equipment and tools, they stepped out onto the alien vessel. The surface was cold and rough beneath their boots, littered with fine dust that sparkled faintly in the dim light. Laura knelt to examine one of the symbols more closely. "These aren't just decorative," she murmured. "They're functional, like instructions or warnings." Rachel ran a handheld scanner over the area. No power signatures detected. "Whatever this thing is, it's dead or dormant." Alan gestured for them to follow him as he moved toward what appeared to be an entrance, a dark opening partially obscured by debris. Using a plasma cutter, Jake cleared away the rubble, revealing a smooth metallic frame. Beyond it lay a shadowy corridor, its walls lined with more of the enigmatic symbols. "Let's go," Alan said, stepping inside. The interior was eerily quiet, save for the soft hum of their suit systems. The air smelled stale, tinged with a metallic temps. Lights flickered weakly along the ceiling, casting uneven shadows on the walls. It was clear that the structure had been abandoned for a very long time, yet there was an undeniable sense of purpose to its design. Everything had a place. Every detail served a function. Laura paused near a panel embedded in the wall. It bore a series of buttons arranged in a circular pattern, each marked with another symbol. "This might be a control interface," she suggested. "If we can figure out how it works." She pressed one of the buttons experimentally, but nothing happened. Frustrated, she tried again, this time using her suit's AI to analyze the panel. Still, there was no response. "Maybe it needs a different kind of input," Rachel offered. "Something analog instead of digital." Alan considered this. Worth a shot. Let's try talking to it. At first, the idea sounded absurd. How could an ancient ship respond to spoken words? But given the lack of progress with conventional methods, it was worth attempting. Laura stepped forward, her helmet microphone amplifying her voice. "Hello? Can anyone hear me?" For a moment, there was silence. Then, to everyone's astonishment, the lights brightened slightly, and a low, resonant hum filled the corridor. A voice echoed around them, not in English, but in a melodic language unlike anything they'd ever heard. It was beautiful, haunting, and utterly incomprehensible. "What the hell was that?" Jake demanded, gripping his weapon tightly. "I don't know," Alan admitted, his expression unreadable. "But I think we just got its attention." Back aboard the Odyssey, news of the discovery spread quickly. The entire crew gathered in the main conference room, eager to hear what the away team had found. Alan and Laura recounted their experience, describing the ship's eerie atmosphere and the unexpected response to Laura's voice. "It reacted to you specifically." Nathan Brooks, the ship's linguist, pointed out. "Why didn't it answer when someone else spoke?" "I'm not sure," Laura replied. "Maybe it's programmed to recognize certain vocal patterns. Or maybe," she hesitated, unsure how to phrase her next thought, "maybe it prefers humans." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this possibility. If true, it raised countless questions. Or what had created the ship? Why would it respond only to human voices? And most importantly, what did it want? Over the next few hours, Nathan worked tirelessly to decode the alien language, piecing together fragments of meaning from the recordings. Meanwhile, Rachel examined the ship's architecture, speculating about its purpose and capabilities. Jake remained wary, insisting that they proceed with extreme caution. Despite the uncertainties, one thing was clear. The discovery of the ancient ship was unlike anything humanity had encountered before. It was a relic of a forgotten era holding secrets that could reshape the future or destroy it. And as the crew debated their next move, Laura couldn't shake the feeling that the ship wasn't done speaking to them. Somewhere deep within its labyrinthine corridors, it waited, silent, patient, listening for the sound of a human voice. To the table, but none could deny the weight of what they had stumbled upon. For days, the team worked tirelessly, trying to make sense of the alien artifact. The ship's mysterious language and its apparent preference for human voices were riddles that demanded answers. Nathan Brooks, the linguist, spent nearly every waking moment analyzing the recordings Laura had captured during their first encounter. He sat hunched over his workstation in the lab, surrounded by glowing screens filled with waveforms and spectrograms. His fingers danced across the keyboard as he fed data into translation algorithms, searching for patterns or repetitions that might unlock meaning. "It's not random," Nathan muttered to himself, squinting at one particularly complex sequence. "There's structure here, rules." Laura entered the lab just as Nathan leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. She carried a tray with 2 cups of coffee, one for him and one for herself. Setting it down on the edge of his desk, she glanced at the screens. "Any progress?" she asked, handing him a cup. Nathan accepted it gratefully. "Maybe I've identified some recurring sounds like building blocks. They seem to form sentences, though I can't tell what they mean yet." He played a snippet of the recording. The melodic tones filled the room, haunting and beautiful. Laura closed her eyes for a moment, letting the sound wash over her. When she opened them again, Nathan was watching her intently. "You're good at this," he said. "I mean, you got it to respond in the first place. I just talked to it." Laura replied with a shrug. "It wasn't exactly planned. Well, whatever you did, it worked. Do you think you could try again?" Laura hesitated. To the ship felt strange, almost intimate. It was as if she were communicating with something alive, something aware. But she nodded anyway. "If it helps us understand what we're dealing with, then yes." Later that day, Alan called another meeting in the conference room. The atmosphere was tense. Everyone wanted answers, but no one knew where to start. Rachel Monroe stood near the front, holding a tablet displaying schematics of the ship's interior. Beside her, Jake Harper paced restlessly, his arms crossed over his chest. "We need to establish clear goals," Alan began, addressing the group. "We can't keep poking around blindly. This thing is too important, too dangerous to treat casually." Rachel stepped forward. "From an engineering standpoint, the ship appears to be powered by some kind of organic system. It doesn't rely on traditional energy sources like reactors or batteries. Instead, it seems to draw power from well-living matter." "That explains why it reacted to Laura's voice," Nathan interjected. "It might see humans or biological life as compatible somehow." Jake frowned. "Compatible? You mean it could use us as fuel?" "No, not necessarily," Rachel said quickly, "but it does suggest that the ship was designed to interact with organic beings rather than machines. That's why our AI systems haven't been able to communicate with it." Alan turned to Laura. "What about your attempts to speak with it? Did you notice anything unusual?" She thought for a moment before answering. "It feels responsive, like it's listening, really listening. And when it replies, there's a rhythm to it, almost like music." "No, music," Nathan repeated, nodding. "That's a good way to describe it. These symbols, they aren't just functional. They're artistic. Whoever built this ship valued beauty as much as utility." "But who are they?" Jake asked sharply. "And why did they leave it behind?" No one had an answer to that. The mystery only deepened with each passing hour. Despite their growing understanding of the ship's mechanics and language, the crew couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The next day, Laura and Nathan returned to the ship, determined to push further into its depths. Armed with new insights from Nathan's translations, they hoped to establish more meaningful communication. As they stepped through the entrance corridor, the familiar hum greeted them, low and steady. "This time, let's stick together," Laura said, glancing at Nathan. "We don't want to lose anyone." He nodded, clutching a portable recorder in one hand. Together, they moved deeper into the ship, following the faint glow of bioluminescent panels along the walls. The air grew warmer as they advanced, carrying a faint scent of ozone. They reached a chamber unlike any they'd seen before. Its walls shimmered with iridescent colors, pulsating gently as if alive. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, topped with a crystalline structure that refracted light into dazzling patterns. Laura approached cautiously, her heart pounding. "Hello," she called out softly. "Can you hear me?" At first nothing happened. Then the crystal began to vibrate, emitting a soft chime that resonated through the chamber. The alien voice returned, clearer this time, though still incomprehensible. Nathan activated his recorder, capturing every note. Laura listened carefully. Mimicking the cadence of the response, "We come in peace," she said slowly, enunciating each word. "We want to understand." To her astonishment, the ship reacted. The lights brightened, and the floor beneath their feet vibrated slightly. A series of symbols appeared on the walls, shifting and rearranging themselves like constellations coming to life. "It's responding," Nathan exclaimed, his voice tinged with excitement. "It's showing us something." Laura studied the symbols, recognizing a few from the panel they had encountered earlier. "These look like instructions," she said. "Maybe it's teaching us how to communicate." Over the next several hours, Laura and Nathan engaged in a painstaking dialogue with the ship. Using trial and error, they pieced together fragments of meaning. Some words corresponded to concepts like light, energy, and connection. Others remained elusive, their significance hidden behind layers of complexity. By the time they returned to the Odyssey, both were exhausted but exhilarated. Nathan immediately set to work refining his translations, while Laura reported their findings to Alan and the rest of the crew. "We're making progress," she told them. "The ship calls itself Arender. At least, that's what I think it means." "Arender," Alan repeated, testing the name. "Do we know what it wants?" Laura shook her head. "Not yet. But it seems willing to cooperate for now." Days turned into weeks. The crew continued their efforts to unravel the secrets of Arender. Nathan's translations grew more sophisticated, allowing for rudimentary conversations. Through Laura, the ship revealed tantalizing glimpses of its history. It spoke of a civilization that revered biological life, believing it to be the ultimate expression of creation. Machines, while useful, were seen as inferior imitations of nature's perfection. They didn't trust artificial intelligence, Nathan explained during one briefing. Their technology was designed to enhance organic beings, not replace them. But why abandon such a marvel, Rachel wondered aloud. Why leave Arender floating out here all alone? The question lingered unanswered, casting a shadow over their discoveries. Despite their successes, unease simmered beneath the surface. Jake voiced concerns about the psychological effects of prolonged exposure to the ship. Several crew members reported vivid dreams and fleeting visions of alien landscapes. Even Laura admitted to feeling a strange pull toward Arender, as if it were calling to her on a level she couldn't fully comprehend. One evening, as the crew gathered in the mess hall for dinner, tensions boiled over. Jake slammed his fist on the table, startling those nearby. "This thing is messing with us. We don't know what it's capable of, and we're just walking right into its trap." Alan raised a calming hand. "We're being cautious, Jake. Every step we take is calculated." "Calculated," Jake shot back. "Then explain why half the crew looks like they haven't slept in days. Why Laura spends more time talking to that ship than she does with us." Laura bristled at the accusation. "I'm doing my job, Jake. If you have a better idea for figuring out what Arender is, I'd love to hear it." The argument fizzled out, leaving an awkward silence in its wake. Yet Jake's words lingered, planting seeds of doubt in minds already burdened by uncertainty. Despite the growing unease, the work continued. Each breakthrough brought new questions. Each revelation hinted at deeper mysteries. Arender remained, patient, its presence both inviting and unnerving. It waited, silent and watchful, for the next human voice to call out to it, and somewhere within its glowing corridors, it whispered promises of knowledge and warnings of consequences yet unseen. Revelations and new challenges. The more they learned, the more complex the picture became. What had started as a scientific mission was slowly transforming into something deeper, almost personal. Laura and Nathan spent most of their time inside Arender, piecing together its fragmented history through painstaking conversations. With each session, Nathan's translations improved, allowing them to communicate more effectively. Laura acted as the bridge between humanity and the ship, her voice carrying a weight that neither she nor anyone else fully understood. Arender revealed itself in bits and pieces, always careful, always deliberate. It described its creators as a race who valued life above all else. They believed machines were tools, not companions, and that true connection could only exist between living beings. Its philosophy explained why the ship responded exclusively to human voices rather than artificial systems. "They saw us as equals," Nathan said one evening during a debriefing. Not just because we're alive, but because we share their respect for organic existence. Alan nodded thoughtfully. So they built Arender to interact with biological life. But why leave it behind? Nathan hesitated before answering. It's possible they didn't have a choice. Their civilization might have collapsed, or maybe they evolved beyond physical form. Either way, they entrusted Arender to carry on their legacy. The idea sent a chill through the room. If Arender was meant to preserve the memory of its creators, then what did it see when it looked at humanity? Were they worthy successors or merely curious intruders? Despite these breakthroughs, tensions aboard the Odyssey continued to rise. Jake Harper remained skeptical, his distrust of Arender growing with each passing day. Noticed subtle changes in the behavior of those who spent too much time near the ship. Nathan, once calm and analytical, now muttered alien phrases under his breath. Rachel Monroe reported hearing faint whispers while working close to the ship's core. Even Laura seemed different, more distant, as if part of her mind was elsewhere. You can't ignore the signs, Jake argued during another heated discussion. This thing is messing with our heads. It's not messing with us, Laura countered. It's trying to connect. We're learning so much from it. At what cost? Jake shot back. How do we know it's not manipulating us? Planting ideas, influencing decisions? Alan stepped in before the argument escalated further. We'll proceed carefully. No one goes near Arender alone, and we monitor everyone's mental state closely. Understood? Reluctantly, the crew agreed. But the unease lingered, casting a shadow over their progress. One afternoon, Laura decided to venture deeper into Arender's interior. She felt drawn to the ship in a way she couldn't explain, as though it were calling to her. Accompanied by Nathan and Rachel, she followed a series of glowing pathways that led to a section they hadn't explored before. The corridor opened into a vast chamber filled with floating orbs of light. Each orb pulsed softly, emitting harmonious tones that resonated throughout the space. In the center of the room stood a massive structure resembling a tree made of crystal. Its branches stretched toward the ceiling, shimmering with colors that shifted like liquid rainbows. What is this place? Rachel whispered, awestruck. I don't know, Laura admitted, but it feels important. As they approached the crystalline tree, the orbs began to move, orbiting around them in slow, graceful arcs. One of the orbs came to rest in front of Laura, hovering at eye level. She reached out tentatively, her gloved hand brushing against its surface. Instantly, images flooded her mind, scenes of lush forests, towering cities, and beings unlike anything she'd ever imagined. She gasped, stumbling backward. Did you see that? She asked, turning to Nathan and Rachel. See what? Rachel replied, looking confused. All I saw was the orb. It showed me. Memories, Laura said, struggling to find the right words. Of its creators. Of their world. Nathan's eyes widened. You mean it's sharing its history with you? Before Laura could respond, the ship spoke again, its melodic voice filling the chamber. Through Laura, it explained that the orbs contain fragments of its creator's collective consciousness, their thoughts, emotions, and experiences preserved for eternity. This is how they live on, Nathan murmured, gazing at the orbs in wonder. Not as individuals, but as a unified whole. The revelation left the team speechless. For a moment, they forgot their fears and doubts, overwhelmed by the beauty and tragedy of what they had discovered. Yet even as they marveled at the achievement, questions gnawed at the edges of their minds. Why had the creators chosen this path? And what role did Arender play in their story? Back on the Odyssey, the crew debated the implications of their findings. Some, like Nathan, saw Arender as a gifted treasure trove of knowledge waiting to be unlocked. Others, like Jake, viewed it as a threat, warning that humanity wasn't ready for the responsibilities it carried. We need to set boundaries, Jake insisted. Limit our interactions. This isn't just about science anymore. It's about survival. But how do we decide where to draw the line? Laura asked. Every step forward brings us closer to understanding something incredible. And every step risks losing ourselves, Jake shot back. Look at Nathan. Practically obsessed. Nathan bristled at the accusation. I'm doing my job. If you're too scared to face the unknown, fine, but don't drag the rest of us down with your fear. The argument ended in silence, leaving the crew divided. Alan tried to mediate, reminding everyone of their shared goal, to uncover the truth while staying safe. But the cracks in their unity were becoming harder to ignore. Days later, Laura returned to Arender alone. She told herself it was for research, but deep down, she knew it was something more. The ship called to her, not with words, but with a pull she couldn't resist. As she walked through its corridors, she felt a strange sense of belonging. If she had found a place where she'd truly fit in the chamber with the crystalline tree, she sat cross-legged on the floor, letting the orbs drift around her. One by one, they shared their stories, painting vivid pictures of a civilization long gone. Laura absorbed everything, her mind expanding with each new revelation. Then, without warning, the ship spoke directly to her, not through translation, but in her own language. "Why do you seek us?" it asked, its voice gentle, yet probing. Laura hesitated. "We want to understand, to learn from you."
Ah.
"And what will you do with this knowledge?" The ship pressed. "Will you honor it or misuse it?" She didn't have an answer. His track record with power and discovery was mixed at best. How could she promise that they wouldn't repeat past mistakes? The ship fell silent, leaving her alone with her thoughts. For the first time, she questioned whether their presence was welcome or wise. When Laura finally returned to the Odyssey, she avoided eye contact with the others. Something had shifted within her, though she couldn't put it into words. It retreated to her quarters, replaying the conversation in her mind. That night, she dreamed of the crystalline tree and the orbs of light. In her dream, the ship whispered to her again, urging her to make a choice. Stay or go, learn or leave. The decision weighed heavily on her. But she knew one thing for certain. Arender wasn't done speaking to her. And somewhere in the depths of the ancient ship, it waited patiently, knowing that its fate hand, humanity's rested in the hands of a single human voice. Every decision carrying unseen consequences, the crew was divided not just in opinion, but in spirit. Some saw Arender as an opportunity to unlock secrets that could change humanity's future. Others viewed it as a threat, a relic from a forgotten age whose intentions remained shrouded in mystery. Laura spent more time than ever inside the ancient ship, drawn by its pull and the growing bond she felt with it. She couldn't explain why, but being near Arender gave her a sense of clarity she hadn't experienced before. It was as if the ship understood her on a level no one else did, even herself, yet this connection came at a cost. She noticed subtle changes in her thoughts, fragments of alien memories lingering in her mind, whispers of languages she didn't know echoing in her dreams. Alan watched Laura closely, his concern growing with each passing day. He admired her dedication, but he also recognized the toll it was taking on her. During their brief meetings, she seemed distant, her focus drifting toward something he couldn't see. When he asked her about it, she brushed him off, insisting she was fine. "Just overwhelming," she admitted one evening as they stood together on the bridge. "Every time I talk to Arender, I feel like I'm learning something new, but also losing a part of myself." Alan placed a hand on her shoulder. "We need you here, Laura. All of you. Don't let it take over." She nodded, though she wasn't sure she believed him. Deep down, she wondered if it already had. Jake Harper's unease reached a boiling point. He had always been cautious, but now his skepticism bordered on paranoia. He began monitoring the crew more closely, noting behavioral changes that alarmed him. Nathan Brooks, once meticulous and logical, now wandered the halls muttering phrases in the alien language. Rachel Monroe reported hearing strange sounds late at night, even when the ship's systems were silent. And Larashi was the most troubling of all. Her eyes often glazed over, as if she were listening to something no one else could hear. "This has gone too far," Jake said during a private meeting with Alan. "We're losing people to this thing. If we don't act soon, we might not get them back." "What do you suggest?" Alan asked, his tone measured but wary. We cut ties. Now, before it's too late and leave everything behind? After all we've learned? Yes, Jake snapped. What good is knowledge if it destroys us in the process? You've seen what it's doing to them, to all of us. Alan sighed, torn between duty and fear. He knew Jake had a point, but abandoning Arender felt wrong. They'd come so far, uncovered so much. Could they really walk away? Meanwhile, Laura continued her conversations with Arender, delving deeper into its history. Through careful dialogue, she pieced together fragments of its creator's final days. The civilization that had built Arender had thrived for millennia, blending technology and biology in ways humanity could barely imagine. But eventually, they faced a crisis, a choice between preserving their physical forms or ascending to a higher state of existence. They chose ascension, Laura explained. To Nathan during one session, they left their bodies behind, becoming pure energy. Arender was their anchor, a way to stay connected to the physical world. Nathan frowned. So it's not just a ship, it's a repository of their consciousness. Exactly. But there's more. Laura hesitated, choosing her words carefully. Arender believes we're similar to its creators, that we share their values, that we might follow the same path someday. Nathan stared at her, his expression unreadable. And what does it want from us? Laura shook her head. I don't know yet, but I think it's testing us. Tensions. Aboard the Odyssey reached a breaking point when Jake confronted Laura directly. He cornered her in the lab, his voice low and urgent. You need to stop, he said. Whatever's happening to you, it's not natural. You're changing, Laura. Can't you see that? I'm fine, she replied, though her voice lacked conviction. Arender isn't harming me. It's helping me understand. Understand what? How to lose yourself completely. Look at Nathan. He's practically a ghost already. Is that what you want? Laura flinched at his words but refused to back down. You don't get it, Jake. This is bigger than us. It's bigger than anything we've ever encountered. We can't just turn our backs on it. Jake clenched his fists, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. Fine, then. Tell me what happens when it decides we're not worthy. What happens when it turns on us? Before Laura could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The Odyssey lurched violently, throwing everyone off balance. On the bridge, Alan scrambled to assess the situation. What's going on? He demanded, his voice sharp. It's Arender, Rachel reported from engineering. It's locking us out. The docking clamps are retracting, and the airlock seals are failing. Panic spread among the crew as they realized what was happening. Arender wasn't letting them leave. Laura rushed to the airlock, her heart pounding. She activated her suits comes, trying to reach the ship. Arender, stop. You're hurting us. For a moment, there was silence. Then the melodic voice responded, calm but firm. Your kind fears what it does not understand. Fear leads to conflict. Conflict leads to destruction. I cannot allow this cycle to continue. We're not afraid, Laura insisted. We just need time to process everything. Please, give us a chance. The ship paused, its hum softening slightly. One will remain, one who understands. The rest must go. Confusion rippled through the crew. What did it mean? Who would stay behind? Alan made the call. Everyone back to the Odyssey. Now, but Laura hesitated. She knew what Arender wanted and she knew she couldn't abandon it. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward. No, she said firmly. I'll stay. The decision sparked chaos. Nathan pleaded with her to reconsider, while Jake argued that staying was suicide. But Laura stood her ground, her resolve unshakable. I'm the only one who can communicate with it, she said. If anyone can keep it from harming us, it's me. Alan looked at her, pain etched across his face. Are you sure about this? She nodded. It's the only way. Reluctantly, the crew boarded the Odyssey, leaving Laura alone with Arender. As the ship detached and drifted away, she turned to face the crystalline tree, its branches glowing. Softly in the dim light, You wanted someone to stay, she said quietly. Here I am. The orbs of light surrounded her, pulsing gently as if in welcome. For the first time, she felt truly at peace. Whatever lay ahead, she knew she had made the right choice. Outside, the Odyssey disappeared into the void, carrying the hopes and fears of its crew. Inside Arender, Laura became part of something greater, a guardian of knowledge, a bridge between two worlds. And somewhere in the depths of the ancient ship, it whispered its gratitude, knowing it had found the human voice it had been waiting for. Surrounded by glowing orbs in the crystalline tree. The air was still, but it hummed with a quiet energy that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. For a moment she felt small, insignificant compared to the ancient power around her. But as the ship's voice filled the room, soft and melodic, she reminded herself why she had stayed. "You chose to remain," Arender said, its tone almost gentle. "Why?" Laura took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Because I believe in what you represent. You're not just a relicure, a connection to something greater, something humanity needs to understand." The ship paused, as if considering her words. Then it spoke again. "Understanding is fragile. Many have sought it only to twist it into fear or greed. Are you certain your kind is ready?" "I don't know," Laura admitted honestly. "But we'll never be ready if we turn away from opportunities like this. Let me help you teach us." For several moments, there was no response. The orbs drifted lazily around her, casting shifting patterns of light on the walls. Finally, the ship emitted a low chime, signaling its acceptance. "Very well," it said. "You will become my voice, my guide." Days turned into weeks. As Laura immersed herself in Arender's world, the ship shared its knowledge freely now, revealing secrets about its creators and their way of life. Learned how they had mastered the art of blending biology and technology, creating systems that enhanced life rather than replacing it. Their philosophy revolved around harmony between individuals, between species, and between organic and artificial existence. But with every lesson came warnings. Andrew showed her glimpses of civilizations that had misused similar knowledge, leading to destruction and despair. Stressed the importance of balance and cautioned against rushing progress without understanding consequences. "It's not just about power," Laura murmured one day, speaking aloud to process her thoughts. "It's about responsibility." Arender responded with a single, resonant note sound that felt like approval. Despite the depth of her learning, Laura couldn't shake the feeling of isolation. The absence of human voices weighed heavily on her. She missed the camaraderie of the crew, the debates, the laughter. Even Jake's skepticism would have been welcome now. Instead, she spent her days conversing with a ship that, though intelligent, lacked the warmth of true companionship. To cope, she began recording messages for the Odyssey. Using a portable transmitter, she sent updates detailing her experiences and discoveries. She hoped her words would reach them someday, even if it took years. Each message ended the same way. "I'm okay. Don't worry about me." Meanwhile, aboard the Odyssey, the crew struggled to adjust to life without Laura. Her absence left a void that no one could fill. Nathan in particular seemed lost. Without her guidance, his translation stagnated, and he grew increasingly withdrawn. He spent hours staring at recordings of Arender's language, muttering phrases under his breath as if trying to summon her presence. Alan tried to keep morale high, but the tension was palpable. Arguments broke out more frequently, often sparked by minor disagreements. Jake remained steadfast in his belief that leaving Laura behind had been a mistake. While others argued that she had made the right choice, "We should go back," Rachel suggested during one heated discussion. "At least check on her, make sure she's safe." "And risk getting trapped again," Jake countered. "Arender, let us leave once. There's no guarantee it'll do it again." "Maybe not," Alan interjected. "But we owe it to Laura. To try, if nothing else we can drop off supplies." The idea gained traction, and soon the crew began preparing for another approach. They knew it was risky, but the thought of abandoning Laura entirely was unbearable. When the Odyssey returned to Arender's location, the ancient ship greeted them cautiously. Its lights flickered, and its voice echoed through the CUM system. You have returned. Why? We've come for Laura, Alan replied. We need to see her to make sure she's okay. There was a long pause before Arender responded. She is unchanged, unharmed, but she has chosen her path. That may be true, Alan said firmly. But we still want to speak with her. A moment's hesitation, the ship relented. Very well. Enter. Pass. The shuttle docked. The crew disembarked with mixed emotions. They found Laura waiting for them in the main chamber, standing beneath the crystalline tree. She looked different, not physically, but in the way she carried herself. There was a calmness about her, a serenity that none of them had seen before. Laura, Alan said, stepping forward. Are you all right? She smiled faintly. I'm fine. Actor than fine, actually. Nathan approached hesitantly, clutching a datapad filled with notes. We miss you.
What?
We thought maybe you'd want to come back for a visit at least.
What?
Laura shook her head. This is where I belong now. Arender needs me and I need it. Her words hit hard, especially for Nathan. Opened his mouth to protest, but stopped when he saw the conviction in her eyes. Whatever doubts he had melted away, Jake, however, wasn't ready to give up. You don't have to stay here forever, he insisted. Come back with us, just for a little while. I can't, Laura replied softly. Not yet. Maybe someday. But not now. The group fell silent, each member grappling with their own emotions. Finally, Alan nodded. If this is what you want, then we'll respect your decision. But promise us one thing, stay in touch. I promise, Laura said. I'll keep sending messages. With heavy hearts, the crew prepared to leave. Before boarding the shuttle, Nathan handed Laura a small device. It's a translator, he explained. In case you run into anything too complex for the ship to explain. She accepted it with gratitude, her smile widening slightly. Thank you, Nathan, for everything. As the shuttle departed, Laura watched until it disappeared into the darkness. Then she turned back to Arender, her resolve stronger than ever. In the weeks that followed, Laura continued her work, delving deeper into the ship's mysteries. With the translator Nathan had given her, she uncovered new layers of meaning in Arender's language, learned how to interact with its systems more effectively, unlocking chambers and functions that had remained dormant for centuries. One day, she discovered a hidden compartment within the crystalline tree. Inside was a small, glowing orb, unlike any she had seen before. When she touched it, a flood of images filled her mind visions of the future. Humanity thriving among the stars, guided by the wisdom of Arender's creators. Cities built in harmony with nature, technologies designed to heal rather than harm. But there were darker visions, two warnings of paths humanity might take if they ignored Arender's lessons. Wars fought over resources, planets stripped bare, civilizations collapsing under the weight of their own ambition. Laura understood then that Arender wasn't just a repository of knowledge. It was a guardian, tasked with ensuring that those who inherited its secrets used them wisely, and she was its chosen emissary. Back aboard the Odyssey, the crew listened to Laura's latest message. Her voice was calm and steady, filled with purpose. I've learned so much, she said. More than I ever thought possible, Arender. Isn't just teaching me's preparing me to teach others. Someday I'll return to share what I've learned. Till then, trust me, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. The message ended, leaving the crew in contemplative silence. Though they missed her dearly, they couldn't deny the truth in her words. Laura had found her place, and in doing so, she had taken the first step toward bridging two worlds. And somewhere in the depths of space, Arender waited patiently, its lights glowing softly as it whispered its eternal promise. Knowledge, tempered by wisdom, would guide humanity's future. With Arender. Through her words, they learned about the wonders and challenges of living aboard the ancient ship. She described how it had become an extension of herself, its systems responding to her thoughts as much as her voice. Yet despite her reassurances, the crew couldn't shake their concerns. Was she truly safe? Or was Arender subtly reshaping her into something unrecognizable? Back on Earth, news of the discovery spread like wildfire. United Earth Council convened emergency sessions to discuss the implications of Arender's existence. Scientists debated whether humanity was ready for such advanced knowledge, while politicians argued over who should control it. Public opinion was divided. Some hailed Arender as a gift from the stars, while others feared it could lead to humanity's downfall. Captain Alan Carter and his team were summoned to present their findings. Standing before a room filled with skeptical faces, Alan recounted their encounter with the ancient ship. He spoke of its creator's philosophy, its preference for human voices, and Laura's decision to stay behind. His voice carried both pride and sorrow as he emphasized that Arender wasn't merely a machine, it was a legacy left by a civilization far beyond human comprehension. Laura chose to remain because she believes in its potential, Alan concluded. She's not just protecting us, she's preparing us. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. One of them, a stern woman named Dr. Emily Grant, leaned forward. And what happens when she decides to return? Will she bring this influence back with her? Alan hesitated. He didn't have an answer. No one did. Meanwhile, aboard Arender, Laura felt the weight of her responsibility more deeply than ever. Each day brought new revelations, but also new questions. The ship continued to share its creator's history, revealing moments of triumph and tragedy. It showed her how they had risen to greatness through unity and cooperation, only to face extinction when greed and fear fractured their society. One evening, as she sat beneath the crystalline tree, Laura reflected on the parallels between their story and humanity's current state. Earth was already rife with conflict over resources, ideologies, and power. If Arender's knowledge fell into the wrong hands, it could accelerate those divisions rather than heal them. "You worry, Arender," observed, its melodic voice breaking the silence. "I do," Laura admitted. "I see so much potential in what you've shown me, but I also see danger. How do we make sure humanity uses your wisdom responsibly?" "The choice is theirs," Arender replied. "You can guide them, but ultimately they must decide." It was a sobering thought. Laura realized that her role wasn't just to learn, it was to teach, to help humanity navigate the delicate balance between curiosity and caution as the months stretched into a year. Laura began sending more detailed messages to the Odyssey. She included diagrams, translations, and instructions for simple technologies. Inspired by Arender's design, these innovations focused on sustainability ways to generate clean energy, purify water, and heal damaged ecosystems. Her hope was that small steps toward progress would prepare humanity for larger leaps. Nathan Brooks pored over her notes, piecing together practical applications. With Rachel Monroe's help, he built prototypes based on Laura's designs. Results were astonishing. Devices that once relied on fossil fuels now ran on bioelectric energy. Crops grew faster and healthier thanks to nutrient-rich soil treatments derived from alien principles. Slowly but surely, the crew began to see glimpses of the future Laura envisioned. Yet not everyone shared their optimism. Jake Harper remained, wary, convinced that humanity's flaws would corrupt even the purest intentions. "We're playing with fire," he warned during one heated discussion. "These technologies are powerful. What happens when someone decides to use them for war instead of peace? We'll cross that bridge when we come to it," Alan countered. "For now, we focus on the good they can do." Jake shook his head but said nothing more. Deep down, he knew arguing wouldn't change anyone's mind, not when hope was all they had left. On Earth, the impact of Laura's work began to ripple outward. Governments and corporations clamored for access to the new technologies, sparking debates over ethics and ownership. Some communities embraced the changes, using them to improve lives and restore balance to their environments. Others resisted, fearing dependence on alien ideas would erode their cultural identity. Amid the chaos, Nathan and Rachel became unlikely ambassadors for Arender's teachings. They traveled across continents, demonstrating its principles and urging caution. Their message was clear. These gifts came with responsibilities. Humanity had to grow wiser before it could wield such power fully. Despite their efforts, tensions mounted. Protests erupted in cities worldwide, pitting advocates of progress against defenders of tradition. Acts of sabotage targeted facilities. developing Arender-inspired technologies, forcing governments to impose strict security measures. The world teetered on the brink of another ideological divide. Through it all, Laura's messages served as a reminder of why they had embarked on this journey in the first place. In her final transmission, she wrote, "I've seen the best and worst of what humanity can achieve. I believe in our ability to rise above ourselves, to build a future where knowledge serves life rather than destroys it. But the path won't be easy. It will require courage, patience, and trust. Remember, Arender isn't here to save us. It's here to show us how to save ourselves." Her words echoed across the globe, igniting sparks of inspiration, even amid the turmoil. People began organizing grassroots movements to promote sustainable practices and foster global cooperation. Slowly, the tide began to turn. Years later, Laura stood alone in Arender's chamber, gazing at the crystalline tree. She had changed in ways she never imagined. Memories intertwined with those of the ship's creators, blending past and present into a tapestry of understanding. Though she still missed her old life, she no longer felt torn between worlds. This was her home now, her purpose. Arender's lights dimmed slightly, drawing her attention. "Your kind grow stronger," it said. "They listen." "Trying," Laura replied. "But there's still so much work to do. There always will be. Growth is endless." She smiled faintly, knowing it was true. Humanity's journey was far from over. But for the first time, she felt confident they were moving in the right direction. Decades passed, and Laura's name became legend. Stories of her sacrifice inspired generations to pursue harmony over conflict, curiosity over fear. The technologies she helped develop transformed Earth, ushering in an era of unprecedented prosperity. Wars became rare, diseases curable, and environmental damage reversible. Yet Arender remained silent, hidden away in the depths of space. It waited, patient and watchful, for the next human voice to call out to it. And somewhere among the stars, Laura continued her vigil, ensuring that humanity's light burned brightly against the darkness.